How the Germans took over the British monarchy. Hi, hello, and welcome to the next video. This is a video that I have been recommended by a viewer of mine. And when I saw the video title, I was completely into it. I've read so many comments in the last weeks talking about how Germans are partly responsible for certain things happening in the UK, such as Christmas rituals, for example, it's like Christmas markets and stuff. However, it feels as if when it comes to this topic, I am still at the start of understanding what that actually means. So when I got recommended this video, I thought this is a great entrance into this topic. So let's just jump straight into it and learn about how the Germans took over the British monarchy. By the way, thank you so much to the channel SideQuest Animated History for making this video. I'm very excited to get into this.
British royal family, the ultimate symbol of tea-drinking, corgi-loving, stiff upper-lip Britishness. When we look at the king, we see a man who appears as indigenous to the British Isles as bad food and worse weather. But if you peel back the layers of history, you'll find that the current royal bloodline is about as British as a bratwurst. You see, for the last 300 years, the British throne has been occupied by a family of Germans who pulled off the greatest PR rebranding campaign in history.
Wait, an entire German family? Okay, this is completely different from what I thought this would be, because I've been told by several comments that there are certain people in the British monarchy that are German or from German ancestry. However, whole families? Okay, I'm completely into this. Now I do want to know more.
To understand how this not-so-hostile takeover in history, happened, we must travel
At
back
least it
to the
wasn't
late
hostile,
17th
not
century.
so hostile.
That century was not kind to Britain. It suffered through the Great Plague, the Great Fire, and a decade-long civil war that saw England's king beheaded by Parliament. Just when things were starting to calm down, the Catholic James II decided that being friends with the Pope is okay again, triggering a revolution that got him deposed. Though, unlike his dad, he at least kept his head. At the end of all the chaos, England and Scotland joined together to form the Kingdom of Great Britain, but not before swearing to never crown a Catholic ever again. Unfortunately, Great Britain's first monarch, the Protestant Queen Anne, had no surviving children who could inherit the crown. To be clear, it was not for lack of trying. Poor Anne endured 17 pregnancies, with only a single child surviving beyond infancy. This was a big problem, because Anne's closest living relatives were the exiled Stuarts, who were unrepentantly Catholic and were plotting their comeback in France. In fact, the next 50 heirs to the throne were all Catholic. So,
wait a minute. Wow, look at that list. Okay, so all of what we've just heard is complete news to me. I guess the only thing that I knew before watching this video was that there was a great plague that existed, and a big fire in London. That's barely anything. Hearing about all of this for the very first time, this woman had 17 kids. 17. And she was pregnant for 17 times, and all the children died. I know back then more children died than nowadays due to medicine, hygiene, and all that stuff that we have nowadays, luckily. But 17? And if I think about, like, you have, as a woman, you have to be pregnant for 9 months straight. Let's say 1 year, because she clearly needed breaks in between pregnancies. That were 17 years of her life of being pregnant almost constantly and not having a single child surviving. Like, how do you even comprehend that? How do you even get over that? I can imagine that the loss of one child is already tragic enough, and you will always think about it for the rest of your life and never get over it. But 17 children? That's so tragic. I'm so sorry for this woman. And she didn't even want to have the children, only to have children, but she needed someone to take over and follow her footsteps. So that's a completely different topic in... I'm sorry, I was distracted for a short second there because of the vacuum cleaner outside. What was I about to say? I'm so sorry. So, like, I'm pretty sure all of this had consequences on top of her losing all those children by being mocked of the other people or by being seen worthless, like back at the time. I think that must have been so hard. I'm so sorry for what this woman had to go through. Okay, let's skip back a little bit so we don't lose what they're talking about.
In fact, the next 50 heirs to the throne were all Catholic, so Parliament had to go all the way to claimant number 54 on the line of succession to find a Protestant. The claimant in question was an old lady called Sophia, a granddaughter of James I. Well into her 70s, this German aristocrat from the small German state of Hanover is the person Britain's Parliament found most suitable to be monarch, a classic example of parliamentarian competence that has unfortunately been greatly overshadowed since then. Sophia would have been the oldest British monarch ever to ascend the throne, but she sadly died of old age just 2 months before Queen
That's unfortunate.
Anne. And so the crown passed to Sophia's son, a 54-year-old German man named George Ludwig. He spoke virtually no English, having lived in Germany his whole life.
That's bad.
And after claiming his crown in an awkward ceremony, lost in translation, he spent the rest of his reign trying to stay back home in Hanover as much as possible. When he had to be in England, he invariably brought along his German mistresses, whom the emerging British press vividly named the Elephant and the Maypole. Nevertheless, the British put up with George I because even though he was German, at least he wasn't Catholic. His reign marked the beginning of the Hanoverian dynasty, a distinctly German line of kings that would rule Britain for nearly 2 centuries. Now, while over time the family would assimilate and become more English, the dynastic politics of the Hanoverians remained sauerkraut-flavoured. But while sauerkraut might not be the best taste, our friends over at Holy have created the most delicious energy and hydration drinks.
I'm being haunted by this company. In
Holy
English
is a
videos
startup
now.
founded by 3 friends in Berlin with the aim of revolutionizing the soft drink industry. And they've been taken...
Sorry, just so you know, I don't mean to put Holy down. I don't know anything about this product. I have never tried it. I don't know how it tastes. I don't know how good it is. It's just due to the fact that I don't know about English channels, but in Germany, you're being overrun by this company. Like every single German content creator that has more like 50,000 subscribers advertises Holy. So every single video you watch and you have been watching for the last 2 years has a Holy placement in it. So every time I see it, I'm being triggered. I'm like, not again. Has nothing to do with the company whatsoever. Like really. But seeing that they now go more into the English realm of channels, that's really funny. So that's why I reacted like that. It's nothing to do with the company though.
the market by storm. Unlike the heavy, sugary sludge you find in traditional soft and energy drinks, Holy has 0 sugar and filler ingredients and has fewer than 20 calories per serving. Because it's powder-based, it's not only better
I like
for the
that
planet,
they're animating
but it's also
their
much cheaper than buying
product
cans,
placements though.
costing as
It's
little
really
as
funny.
80 cents per portion.
I've never
So
seen an
you don't need
animated
to marry into royalty
commercial.
to afford it. It's never too late to get better drinking habits, and with Holy, you'll get better energy and hydration drinks with a massive variety of delicious flavors. I myself have a soft spot for the citrusy Cobra, but there's plenty more to choose from. Best of all, you can grab the Holy Deluxe Starter Set, which includes a high-quality
wonder
shaker
how much
and a
work that is, to
variety
be
of over
honest,
50
like to do
sachets
something like
to find
that,
your
to
favorite flavor. So
put up a
stop
channel
sipping
like
on
this
syrup
that's
and start
animated.
drinking Holy by clicking the link in the description and using the code SideQuest5 to get €5 or pounds off your first order.
Euros
Now,
or pounds?
the Hanoverians were equally as consistent with their dating pool as we have been with drinking Holy this month. In fact, every single monarch of that line, from George I all the
Well,
way...
let's read. Wait a minute. George I married Sophia Dorothea of Celle. Whenever I read like German words and I'm talking to you guys, I'm indecisive of whether to make it sound more German or more English, what's accurate. My brain's like getting confused. So in German, it would be called Zelle. I guess in English, it would be called Celle or something. And George II married Caroline of Ansbach. George III married Charlotte of Mecklenburg-Strelitz. George IV married Caroline of Brunswick. William IV married Adelaide of Saxe-Meiningen. Queen Victoria married Albert of Saxe-Coburg and Gotha. Okay, and all of them have been called George. Oh, one of them has been called William. I wonder how that happened. Like, is it allowed to do that? I don't know anything about monarchy whatsoever. All I've known from movies and stuff is that they almost every single time when they have like a baby and it's the same gender than the father, for example, they give it the name of either the father or the grandfather so that the name never gets lost within the family. But I don't know if that is something that you have to do or something that they choose to do. Maybe you can let me know in the comments, because it seems very obvious. There were like 4 Georges and then all of a sudden there was a William.
In fact, every single monarch of that line, from George I all the way to Queen Victoria, married a German spouse and simultaneously ruled the state of Hanover. So, ironically, the Victorian age, when the British Empire was at its height, had Britain's queen talking to her husband in German every night. A fun fact about Victoria's husband, Prince Albert, was that he was her cousin. Actually, that's not a very fun fact, and neither is the painfully long name of his German dynasty, Saxe-Coburg and Gotha. When Victoria died in 1901, her son Edward VII inaugurated the reign of this much more German-sounding dynasty. And he also held multiple honorary ranks in the German military and absolutely loved vacationing in German spas. This was all well and good until 1914. Since King George V was the first cousin of the German Kaiser, the First World War put the British royal family in a very uncomfortable position.
I can't imagine,
name became a serious PR liability, especially once the Germans started bombing London with their Gotha G4 bombers. And so, in 1917, George V issued a royal proclamation declaring that his family would henceforth be known by the very British name of Windsor, after the castle. He also forced his relatives to anglicize their names.
That's what it's called today, right? House of Windsor. That's what it's called still today. Oh, this little Shiba, it's so cute. Does it live in the House of Windsor or why is it there? So we're getting closer to the nowadays. And it's very interesting that the war changed their perspective, or it had to change. And they've got more British, due to the fact that being German was a little bit difficult back then. So that's how that happened. I had no idea.
The castle. He also forced his relatives to anglicize their names too. The Battenbergs, for example, became the Mountbattens, stripping away the last linguistic traces of their heritage. When the Kaiser heard about his cousin's name change, he reportedly joked about renaming Shakespeare's play to The Merry Wives of Saxe-Coburg Gotha. But despite the
I don't know
jokes,
if that
the
would have
rebrand
sold.
worked like a charm. The Windsors successfully reinvented themselves as the quintessential British family, navigating the chaos of the 20th century while their German cousins lost their thrones. So, while they may wrap themselves in the Union Jack and wave from the balcony of Buckingham Palace, the Windsor dynasty is, at its heart, a German success story.
Wow.
They redefined the British monarchy, just as our friends over at Holy are redefining soft
This
drinks.
is crazy.
Make sure
I
to
had
click the link
no
in the
idea.
description and use the code SideQuest5 to save €5 or pounds on your starter set to fuel your next dynastic takeover. But now, thank you, my friends, for watching this brief genealogy of our favorite
Thank you
royal
for making
imports. If you want to help us maintain our own dynasty here on YouTube, please
Yes,
consider
hop on over to
supporting
their
us
channel
on
and
Patreon.
support them.
Make sure to like and subscribe for more tales of political
This goes for
intrigue,
my channel as
and
well.
stay
Thank
tuned
you.
for the next biologically confusing episode of SideQuest.
Wow, okay, this was a really cool video. Thank you so much for recommending this to me. It was short, it was easy to understand, and it was full of information. I had no idea, so theoretically and also practically, the monarchy of the UK comes from Germans. This is crazy. This is so crazy. I had no idea. Is this also why they do have such German sounding names? I know you can say them in an English way as well, like William or George or Andrew. They're mostly German names, aren't they? Well, to be absolutely sure, I would have to watch a video about the heritage of names. So I'm not gonna put too much weight onto this argument of mine. I have absolutely no idea, but this was really, really interesting. And I do indeed want to go deeper into the knowledge about the monarchy, learning about them, like what they do, why are they there, what can they do, what can't they do. I've slightly touched on the topic when I watched a video about the prime minister, for example. They played a part in that, but I want to learn more about them, and I think this video was a really great start. So thank you so much for recommending it, and I will see you in the next one. Have a nice day. Bye!